Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. May OPEX. Powell coming up. So, how is everyone doing? Good morning, Patrick. Happy Friday. Hey, Sterling. I didn't see that one. The biggest pain trade next 12 months is Fed funds rates at 6%, not 3%. I can see that being spot on. Good morning, Royal Palms. Where do we sit? Good morning, Jacob. Can we peek at Apple if there's time? Sure. Well, then let's just get right to it. While people are filtering in, remember, big thing, really, Bowman's talking right now, but he's talking about the bank and the, bank regulation and everything else. So that's not much. Williams' stuff was not really outlook focused. So we got Powell coming up at 10 Central. 11 Eastern, that's the big one in there besides looking at rig counts, but that only matters if you're a crude trader. There is not much going on. Not much. So let's see. And then let's just refresh this. There we go. I redid new equipment running my internet, so hopefully the stream is good. Got that all configured last night. Nike down. Deere, if you didn't check that out, Deere, big, huge beat on earnings and up 364 basis points. Nike getting hammered a bit. Other than that, pretty mixed with the mega cap. Well, actually, Microsoft's the only one down, but it'll be interesting. Oils and oil stocks are up. We look at the industries, let me refresh this one too. Energy, comm services, real estate leading. Pretty much everything's positive though today going into the open. Fed watch, we'll take a look at that. We're solidly in greed mode. Fed watch is, what was it, about 60-40. 60-40. And as Bob said yesterday, 60-40 might as well be 50-50. So that's where we sit, but I like that. What if we get to 6% and we got 3 pauses and then the series of cuts? The cuts starting in November and December. I think the market's gonna get shocked a little though. I think inflation will still come down, but if it gets stuck at the up in even slightly above 4% and doesn't start budging, then what? Not the Fed and inflation expectations gets rooted that, okay, you know what, we're expecting inflation, so you get a price wage spiral, could get nasty. So I could see that 6%. John Deere was the big one this morning. John Deere with a pretty strong beat. So where do we sit right now? We've been paused at this 42.24 area for some time. You see here right in this area, trying to break out, going to the open. Again, any pullback, as long as we're supporting a really above about 42.12, 42.11, it would just be an ordinary pullback. Below that, you're looking, we have OPEX today, so we got the 4200s. We have, but there's not much there. Let me see here. Let me just see. Where was the tier 1? Let me just call that up too. Let's just see in terms of strikes, because right now 41.78 is gamma, and there's a lot of call gamma at 4200. You see right here, lots of call gamma. So could it be a pin? If it does pull back, could it be a pin slightly below 4200? There's not much put there. There's not a lot of puts right there as there is calls. So if we do pull back, possibly watch for something right below 4,200, which is not a big pullback right now. That would just be the pullback right here into the 4-hour rotation zone and the pullback to this prior candle body area back from May 1st. So that's the key area I'll be watching for support. If it does break lower, I go to 41.80. Unless we got a ton of weak internals and really some momentum. And now that could happen if Powell says something the market doesn't like. That's the only way I'd be targeting the 41.50 area. To the upside though, 42.42 to 42.54 will be my target area to the upside. Beyond that, we're not going to hit it today unless something really, I mean, we'd have to have just a rip your face off massive day to get to that 4,300 area. Okay, so let's see who else we have here. Good morning, Donald. Good morning, Options 22. We'll take a look at that. Well, let's just jump to Apple right now. Apple is going up. Next target 177.68. It's breaking above this key high area. This is now above 176.15. The next key area is 178.95, and then you're back to potentially all-time highs. All-time highs. Where I'm just looking from. Let's just look at the earnings before all-time highs. 83 billion with 1.235 or 1.24, 92 billion with 1.52. So is that in range? Yep, that's in range. So we will see what Apple does. Apple's still trading at close to a 30 PE though. So there's your Apple. Next targets, again, 177.68, 178.95, so 179. And then to the upside, it would be 180.17. On any pullback, again, everything's in the rotation zone unless you really start breaking below 170. So any pullback that stays above 170 is just a normal pullback. The NASDAQ, we just haven't had a lot of pausing action. You see here, it's just been a mad scramble. So we'll have to use the very short-term harmonics of 14,003, then 14,045. The next major key area above there is 41.47, so 41.50. And then we got 14,394. 14,394 gets it very interesting because that can shift the probabilities. So that's where we sit there. On a pullback, there isn't a lot of support. This is pretty much void of support right now. The first level of support, the first major level of support is back down at 13,670 area. So the minor level of support is about 13,825. And then you have a little edge at 13,770. So on a pullback, those will be the levels I will have to watch for. Because that's about it. And that took a 1 hour chart to find that. That's how strong this NASDAQ's been. The Dow still climbing back up. Still have the double in play. By the way, the stop level on that double is still back at 33,982. So unless we really have a rip your face off day in the Dow, that is still in play for a potential rollover at some point. Again, OPEX, it's really going to depend if Powell says something and then the final way OPEX is played. Good morning, PMG. Yeah, again, it's all going to be dependent on what he says. The market can definitely, because he hasn't spoken in a bit. You know, we got a few weeks until the June hikes, and he should provide some clarification. For the Russell, the major level is 1814, which I doubt we'd hit today, but if we get another strong day, we could. 1814 and then 1826, and those are your levels also going into potentially next week on the rally. Key support 1781. Let's just take a look at something right here. There's just not a lot of great pausing areas. If I had to use reverse harmonics to help fine tune that, 1807 would be the next key level. The VIX back down to the very low range going into OPEX. The one-day VIX, we'll see how that stands, but unless that really starts spiking above 1530, not a lot of fear. DAX continues higher. The next key level is 16,426. Major support now is all the way back at 16,000. The notes continue the breakdown after yesterday's closing below all the major candle bodies. We're sitting at the 37.5. I'm still watching for a continued pullback. But again, if Powell says something interesting, we could get some volatility in the notes. The next, after hitting the 37.5, we're looking at 113.06 and then a major target of 112.17 area. The yields marching higher, marching higher. Going to be watching for at least 377 in the yields. Dollar index finally getting a little pause, coming back down to this support level at 102.70. But this is just so far just a minor pullback. We'll be watching. We have cycles at the top, so it's going to require at some point a little pause, at least some sideways movement. And we're into between that 50 and 62.5, which is a rollover zone. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of pullback we do get, if we get the sideways or the pullback correction, but your major support's 102.25. Crude, still caught in this range. No, this is not a double top because of this long wick. The target would have to be on the first breakdown target around 68. And you have a fair amount of overhead resistance, but if it does break higher, you got about 74.50 area to 74.60. Gold, little pause here, but any bounce back play, my first key area would be 1982. On the breakdown, the next support area is 1944. Still watching for this to play out a little more to the downside or do a sideways correction and then another potential rollover play. Silver, inside day so far. Any rally up here would be to the rotation zone, and then I'd watch for the double to complete. What else do we have? The yen tried a little pullback, but it's in trailing mode at this point. 138.84 and then 139.25 are the key targets. The support level is now roughly about 137.50. Euro, not much. You have some support right down here. It's leaning against this little support shelf. So we'll be watching to see how that plays. As cycles are at the bottom and it's coming off of deeply oversold condition, and it's between the 50 and the 62.5, which we could get a little bounce play. I will be watching back into the potential rotation zone for that. Pound, not much just yet. It's holding against the 50. Bitcoin, not much. Tesla, next target 179.75 to 180. Above there is still a gap left behind to 180.59 and then another gap to 184.31. We still are nowhere near the stop level on this double. It's just still channeling, flagging back up, getting to overbought conditions. Let's get to the spiders and the Qs. 421.09 is the next target area. 421.09. And then above there, oh boy, this is sort of ugly. Let me just see something here. Nope, we're gonna go then 423.02, 427.73. Those are your next major levels higher, and just keep in mind up in here, this is the August 22 high area. Should the, not necessarily for today, but should it continue for today, I'd be focused on the 421.09. If we do pull back, I'd be really watching the S&P though to see how it's reacting around that 4,200 and those levels to help fine tune that. But your key support is roughly 416.70 to 417. The Qs, 339 is the next target. The next target. Let me pull off these because those are now useless. Above there, wow. We just don't have a lot. Then your next major would be about 344, and you have a little resistance shelf up there. Support, same thing. There's very little support. Minor support, 335.50, and then you're looking at about 334.40. All right, what else do we have here? Good morning, Heinrich. Feds Bowman repeats the call for an independent third-party probe in SVP. I think he says that, you know what, that could be a transparency thing to make sure there is, you know what, maybe they're concerned with how a certain region of the Fed is not, you know, you had all these bank failures in a key region that has been a lot of loose oversight. So maybe trying to say, hey, we need to extract ourselves and see what somebody else says about this. 4 hour double top, no. I was looking at that earlier. See, we have the daily. The daily, and this is too messy on here, and it's not a double. Oh, you mean this one? This little one. I thought you meant the bigger one. This one, let's see. That one barely qualifies. Yeah, so then if you did get that trigger on a close below 71.52, 70.65, 70.21, and that would be a key target area. You see how these target areas line up exactly with the price action, but I'd be focusing on that 70.21 on any pullback. Thanks for pointing that out, Jake. I thought you meant the bigger one, which does not qualify and on the daily. So thank you for pointing that out. Can I look at PCG? PCG on the monthly. No. No, this one? It's too extended at this point. This is, no, don't trade that as a double. SPY gap from last August. Jackson Hole's speech fills at 421.24. We were at 441.98 SPX on Jackson Hole's speech day. Yesterday's close was the same. Thanks for that, Pavneet. You're welcome, PMG. All right. I would pay close. Everything could potentially shift an hour and a half after the opens when Powell starts speaking. So pay attention to market internals. Because in order for me to go into anything sell mode, they have to really weaken with momentum bars. It is very possible, but it's coming back into a lot of support areas. And it's OPEX Friday. So, and we've had the 0-day expiration, massive call buying spree for the last few days. So just be aware, you got to look at a lot of stuff, and if you don't have a setup, this is, well, it's my least favorite trading day of the month because of OPEX, and you get some weird price action movements. But with that, I will talk to everyone later. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful trading day. Bye for now.